Hey everyone, Egman here with another video, and today we have special guest Cody Schuler. How are you doing, Cody?
Oh, I'm fine.
Fine. Well, you are doing super fine because you did get your regional invite this past weekend running one of two hatch lists at Tennessee. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And one hatch already in the top 16 is quite rare, and to have two. And as I understand it, you and Ivo never really talked about this too. This just happens to be the list that you were comfortable with, and you both just ended up doing super well that weekend.
Yeah, I had never met him before until that regional, and he came up at like round 5, and we were just after round 5 was over, and we were just talking about our because our decks are a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just chatting about it. So it was great getting to talk to him, and yeah, just totally random that both the hatches.
Yeah.
Well, I know there was a third hatch, so
Okay,
that
the
one didn't
secret
top,
one.
but but the third one didn't top, but two hatches for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if it happened like this, but I can imagine like you're sitting down at table 5, you like look over and you're like, wait, I know that leader. Like, wait.
Oh, the judges. One of the judges really wanted the two undefeated hatches. I lost my first
Mm-hmm.
loss was I think round 4. Wanted it to be hatch versus hatch on stream
Oh,
just to break the
just
stream. So
yeah, just the grindiest like game one we've ever seen. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, give me your history on why you chose this leader, and what was your thought process going to this event with it.
well, I played pretty heavily before around set 4, and then
Mm-hmm.
I moved kind of from my play group, so I didn't have I skipped a portion of the game, and I got back into it with Unison Warrior really just
Mm-hmm.
because I liked a lot of the cards that were printed in that set.
Yeah.
And so my buddy got me back into it, and we were about a month ago after the
Yeah.
TCG con in Louisville.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were trying to figure out what we were going to play, and we were going by deck lists we saw and just stuff there. And he was like, "Hey, I'm going to throw you a hatch list." And I had never played Hatchhyack, never. I knew what he did,
Mm-hmm.
just never played against one or played one. And we threw a couple games against each other, and I was like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
disgusting."
This is
This
the friendship
no,
ender a lot of the time. Yeah.
literally everyone. Yeah, we both played similar lists. Mine had different text than his, but
Mm-hmm.
we both went in. I think every round was. I always waited for my opponent to flip their leader out, and then I did mine, and I instantly apologized
Yeah.
because.
Yeah, that's why you said earlier to me before this, yeah, you would play this with your not friend group because you're like, well, I don't care what these people think about me. I could be a scummy hatch player, and like they're not my friends anyway, so we're fine. But jokes aside, I think it was a really cool and obviously successful meta check. And let's just kind of go into the deck itself. So for people who haven't had the misfortune of playing against a Hatchhyack, it's a leader with a lot of kind of just stun inherently in the leader. It does have like some permanents that you can only play black battle cards, but we've been slowly getting more and more kind of like mid-range and kind of control cards for black that it hasn't really had previously, which kind of puts it back on the radar. And the big auto for it is on the Awakened side. When a battle card attacks, the player who attacked can't attack with tokens or battle cards with any cost of 7 or less, other than the card they attacked with for the duration of the turn. And that stops a lot of decks. Now, people thought this was good. They tried it out. Unisons came out, which obviously circumvented a lot of this. But we're here in, I guess, the second to last Unison Warrior set, and it's still a super strong auto.
Yeah, and most of my matchups throughout the day were aggro heavy matchups. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was built for this meta, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I've been doing a lot of BT17 testing, and I think there are going to be a lot more unison heavy decks with Empower that this leader may struggle against. But right now, there's not too many unisons who's kind of being played, and yeah, there are a lot of battle cards that succumb to this kind of effect.
Definitely.
So going through, I don't really know where to begin. It's just a pile of really good black cards. What would you say is the starting point. We do have like this SS4 Bardock is probably one of the better unisons for just the archetype itself, being able to get that constant card draw, and then also it kind of has a like a topo effect in itself. That seems kind of good. But what would you say like the MVPs or the kind of starting plays you'd make with this?
Starting plays, I was honestly when I mulliganed or went for my initial hand, if I had a super combo, I generally kept it, so I didn't mill it. I didn't, maybe Kami for the draw, but or a negate or two. I wasn't really trying to I wasn't really playing cards until I was awakened. So I was just sitting on 3 energy, 4 energy, pass, go back and forth. And then once I have a chance to awaken and build my hand up, I was just using the energy for on the unawakened side, since the leader can't attack on his unawakened side, just to survive until I got to that the awaken and I could really start going off.
Yeah, and like the fact, it's you definitely just generate advantage without attacking your opponent, and that's actually like for a control deck very good, because you don't give your opponent like a combo step on their turn if you don't swing. You don't let them like take their own life either. Like you have to, like you just get to generate advantage. If you need to use an energy for like a power burst or something, you can, but otherwise you're just kind of good generating your own kind of advantage until you can really set up.
Yeah, and since they're not really they're only swinging so many times too. You're generally safe unless they're like they can put out some big stuff like say Sin Shenron.
Yeah. I'd say, Sin Shenron can make some bodies that can get around it, but I mean 7's quite large, and I know specifically neither you or Ivo ran any of the original Hatchhyack package, which is really funny to me. Like the whole package this leader's for, that we've come so far where there's just generically better cards to try to take advantage of that. Obviously, we do have like Super Saiyan 3 Gogeta throwing the Dark Empire gets a lot of value. SS4 Goku getting that recursion as well, and like even like a big boss monster like the SS4 Gogeta. It's an 8 cost, so it gets around your own leader ability, and it's a triple attack, and it like pops 4 cards of your opponent's. Would you say that's kind of like your end game pressure for the list, or how often were you able to go into that guy?
I went into him enough times. The MVP monster of this list I consider is Demigra. Definitely. I was finding myself just because Demigra gets rid of something without having to swing.
Yes.
So it was good just putting thwarting on the board, and then if they didn't clear the thwarting, I could do both in the same turn, get thwarting down and Demigra. And so I'm getting 2 things off the board, one with the thwarting swing and the other with Demigra's just replacing himself, drawing a card, and getting rid of something else on the board.
Yeah.
So I played him more often than anything else just to get something off the board. I could get a draw off him, and he was ripping a card out of their hand. And I didn't care if they petrified him or anything else, because I was only paying 2 for him, unlike tapping 4 for Gogeta, and then they would just blow him up the next turn. And
yeah, and just the
Gogeta
fact that it has a Dark Overrealm too, so it does stay on the board in this list because you're running all black. It's a 30k body for 2 is still like really really good, cost efficient. Not even to mention everything else it has with it.
Yeah, Gogeta was just if my opponent had a really low hand and I felt comfortable going into it. Spoiler alert: I played a lot of black decks, so I didn't want to him to get petrified and just blown up, and I didn't want to have the 4 energy wasted for that. I generally went to anywhere from 5 to 7. 6 was the sweet spot energy wise, where I stopped charging just because I would still have the 2 up, or if I had to tap the 4 to play anything. But I generally went to 7, so I would have 3 for then I could tap 4 to play either I didn't play the Sin really at all that day. He was for blue matchups, but
the negative energy explosion.
Yeah.
The 4-drop. Yeah. Well then, and so also your secret rare choice is the Supreme Kai of Time Brainwash, which I don't think a lot of people are using. What's your idea with running this, and how successful would you say it was for the day?
My idea with running this was that pan is more expensive, and
You're not wrong.
I totally think this works too. I didn't get it out constantly. It was not like an every game kind of play. It was definitely more for if I was going for pressure. It was a good card to get out there, and then my opponent's like, "Oh, I have to deal with this too." And I remembered there was one game where it was almost time, I think, and I just I played this to swing and then use its effect because my opponent was literally not going to be able to kill me with just his leader on his next turn.
Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, it was just kind of I only used that effect like twice all day. It was pretty much just a in-game kind of swing. It was another big boss monster to get through.
I mean, it's a 50k double strike for 1 energy, so like it's like a Mira almost, like an old school Mira Champa, but for 1 less. So
yeah, I definitely think you could just run pan if you had pan. They're about the same either way. They both in a turn, whether it's the next one or the one you're on. So just didn't have the funds to go out and get a pan.
That is perfectly fine. I totally. How much are the demigrids now? The super. I remember about a year and a half ago they were like $30-$40. I don't remember if they've gone down or not, but that was
True Power Unleashed.
Yes, True Power Unleashed.
The one that's on the deck, it got the reprint and
that's right. So
anniversary set. So these were $1.
Okay, yeah, okay. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, so then I would say, I mean, what the DBS Deck Planet saying this is a $300 deck, but I think I have like max rarity on some things, so it's probably honestly, what would you say, like $100 to make this almost?
Yeah, this could be considered a pseudo budget deck.
Yeah, especially even if you don't run a secret rare, and I would imagine secret rares aren't as impactful in this list as others.
No, and honestly, looking at the because I have my list pulled up too, looking at everything, I really think just like the Gojitas are like around $10. The SS4, and then I think the Jirans are like 10 or 12, and you don't even really need the Jirans. I just
I didn't know that they're that high. I guess they're a weird rare for the draft box, so those prices kind of go up sometimes.
I just really don't like 17, so they were very prepared for that, and then the Supreme Kai of Time negates, I think, like 10 or 12. But everything else, I think, besides the SCR, is under 5 for sure.
Yeah. Just looking at this, it looks like it can. I mean, with the reprints, right? With both SS3 Gogeta and SS4 Son Goku getting reprinted in the whatever collection this winter. Yeah, pretty cheap. So look, thinking about so you played 7 rounds. It was 5 wins with 2 losses to get that top 16. How often would you get past game 1, right? Like how often would you say game 1 would last for most of your matches?
Game 1 was definitely the majority of the time. I think because it was 70-minute rounds, so I think game 1 lasted 40 to 50 minutes most of the time.
Yeah.
For sure, and usually we were like it would be game 2 was almost over, and most of the time it was clear that I was just gonna either win or there was no way we would be able to finish, so they would just like scoop and be done.
And that's
definitely a grindy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's my impression looking at this. And for people who haven't played in this most recent season, we do have 70-minute rounds for in-person, and it's like a minimal tie. So if it's on game 2, if someone won game 1, and you go into time after time, it's whoever got game 1. So, or actually, whenever it goes into time, it goes into game 1, and you only get the 3 extra turns if you are on game 3, or I guess game 1 as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, winning game one with this deck and just being unkillable for 30 minutes is, I think, a definite strategy for these time rules.
Yeah, and I mean, the deck I knew most before this at TCGCon was Slug, and I was playing Slug exactly the same way. Just
the group hug slug, or
the we draw together. Slug.
Okay, yeah. Everyone has their own. Yeah, I really like that list, and I miss Roshi. That's like the reason that I stopped playing it. But maybe I should take another look.
I went 2-2 drop there, and I just gave it to my opponent in round 4 because I didn't expect to see much blue, and blue is like the most obnoxious matchup for it. So
yeah, well, talking
2 blues were my losses.
Yeah, so talking about obnoxious matches, you said you ran into a lot of black decks in this tournament. What would you say is the hardest matchup, and then what were your 2 losses after that?
Okay, so this Hatch just in general has he has a winnable blue matchup. It's not. I mean, it's like blue's probably favored a little bit because green matchup isn't great.
But green doesn't exist right now, so you're fine.
Yeah. And then yellow can be won, but it is very rough. Sin is probably Hatch's worst matchup right now, I think. Just especially if they're going like probably aggro and control worse.
Yeah,
I don't know. I didn't have to worry about it.
But yeah, obviously going into the 8 drop with like a Rage Shenron to get like another crit swing, and since it's an 8 cost, it gets around your auto. So yeah, I can see it, breaking the matchup.
And even Sing Selzeno and counter cooler. It's just not fun. My friend, me and him both went to TCGCon, or regional in Nashville, and he took a similar list, a little bit different tech-wise, and we were talking on the way home because he went 3-3 drop, and he said, I played a completely different day because he played either 3 or 4 yellow decks, and he was like, these are the worst grindy matchups I could possibly have hit, and I played this because I expected to play black and red all day.
And I think that was keen observation for it.
And that is what I played all day. I played. Do you want me to go individually into rounds?
Go for it.
Round 1 was Super Saiyan God Trunks. That he ended up milling out with like 20 minutes left in the round.
Okay, well,
and
yeah.
And so we went to game 2, and he was pretty heavy on just setting up blockers and stuff. But I mean, there was no way we were going to finish in time.
Yeah.
Game 2 was against Gogeta, Gogeta Zeno, and he actually. I think he took game 1 because he surprised me with just how fast he was getting a bunch of combo power, and then I took game 2, and I actually took a game 3.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that one. It was pretty. Hatch can be played fast. You just, it's not fun.
You gotta want. It's risky,
sweaty and nerve wracking.
Yeah.
But I just went for it, so we didn't have to go into time, and then because Hatch is not favored in time, especially early. Round 3 was Tricolored Launch, and funny enough, I had like tested against that deck like very recently, and I had tested against my friend who I went with, and he had like 10 cards left in deck at one point, and we only played like 1 game with it. Sure. He goes, "You still have 4 life," and I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I'll just, you got it. I'm not going to do this anymore." And that is literally what happened at the regional. Because the guy was like, I had 4 life, and he was just had a book in his hand, but I mean, he was.
That deck doesn't play a lot of unisons and a lot of weenies, so it's a lot of 2 attacks. Do you have a negate every turn? I can see why
he was playing the Sin unison. and
Okay.
he was I just was like, I remember the last turn before the end of the second game,
Mm-hmm.
he swung with everything, and I negated four attacks in a row, and he was just like, I can't get a swing through, and I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I can't let you get a swing through.
Yeah.
And
It's
he
yeah.
was like, so he did his four attacks, and he was like, yeah, there's literally no way for me to take this game now, so
Mm-hmm.
just, you got it. And I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
definitely a deck that if you're going to a different region or like you don't know people, you can just show up with that, and then if you're not making any friends, it's fine. It's not your regular scene.
um, round four was against the third. He finished third place, Gogeta.
Yep,
Um,
Nicholas McKinley.
yeah. To say that I was okay sitting down and going into it, and
Mm-hmm.
then I had the worst draws I had in the entire day.
Mm-hmm.
My mulligan hand at one point for either game one or two was 3 unisons and all 3 of my big Gogetas, and
Yes.
I, I just he was able to pummel me before I could do anything,
Yeah,
and
sure.
that was 2 games in a row of not
Mm-hmm.
being able to do much of anything. Game 2, it was closer since I got to go first, but he definitely put more pressure than I'd seen the rest of the day,
Mm-hmm.
and with like lackluster draws, like I think I just went ahead and had to tap out on turn 2 to get the unison out just for the draw, so I
To
could
do
hope to
something.
survive
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
on one of the games. And you shouldn't, you really don't want to ever tap out until
yeah,
you're at least you don't want to ever tap out in general, but you definitely want to be awakened before you really start playing stuff,
yeah, yeah.
and have like you always kind of want to have 2 energy to 3 energy going into your opponent's turn.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was I I'm pretty sure I looked at the clock and there was like 45 minutes left in the round.
Yeah, and
Like,
you're just
that's
like,
how like no other time that day did that happen, and
yeah,
it was just
that's probably more
unbelievable.
time than the rest of the day combined of off time, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got to go to the bathroom. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
um,
All right.
um,
Round 5. What'd that look
I
like?
actually, round 5 was Hector playing
Okay.
AOD,
Mm-hmm.
which is technically black but is not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I Phil, I he sat down, and I know what his dad was playing, and he just looked at the judge and he said, "What did I do to deserve this?"
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was
He
like,
would. Yeah. Besides you, yeah, he probably knows the brunt side of Hatchhyack more than most of the room. So he's just like, if I had known that my dad was prepping me for this match.
so he was really nice to talk to.
Hmm.
Everybody was really
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
generally the whole day. I just he just I wasn't really worried about it, just
Hmm.
because it was board and he wasn't going to be able to swing through it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The
I
deck doesn't
wasn't.
play unisons often, and it just plays chunky 3 drops, so it's like 2 attacks a turn.
Yeah. So he ended up game 2. I don't know if you looked at his side, but he had sided in like a whole blue package with the God Sealings
Oh
and the
yeah, yeah.
Majin
Majin
Buu
Buu's good.
unisons.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I was just like, well, I'm never gonna play Gogeta, the
Hmm.
big one.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll just keep swinging and going back and forth. And then he actually Fu Banisher me at one point, the 8-drop one, the Dark Banisher.
Wait,
Um,
which one is that? The one that lets you
one,
have to discard a card every time you activate something?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah.
He actually got that out on me
Hmm.
towards the end of that game, and I was not expecting it. And
Yeah.
but I had such a large hand,
It didn't even
and I
matter.
still, when he played it, I was still at 4 life.
Yeah.
So I just took the lives, and then for all 3 swings, I think, and then I think I warped the card to do a super combo or something for his
Hmm.
last swing he had for the turn.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then that second game ended up going into time, and it was
Hmm.
just
And you won
there
game
was
1, so you're
yeah,
good to go.
yeah. Round 6 was I think he finished 12th with Gogeta Zeno. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I don't remember
Gerardo.
his names. I think that was
Okay.
him. That was he took game one, I'm pretty sure,
Mm-hmm.
just because I didn't see enough of what I needed to see, which I mean that's the game, so you take some of those losses.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
game two, we were it was back and forth, and I ended up taking it with 5 minutes left in the round.
Oh, wow.
And so we started shuffling up for game three, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I probably wasn't going to win at that point because with the time rules, it'll
Mm-hmm.
go by life
Yeah,
first.
yeah,
And
exactly.
I figured since Hatch can't swing on his unawakened side, that I was
Oh,
going
that's
to,
true too. Yeah, and you don't really take a lot of life as Gogeta, so
yeah.
yeah.
So it went to, I think I did actually get to awaken. I think like on my fourth energy turn maybe is when the game ended.
Mm-hmm.
But he was at like, I think I was at 5 and he was at 6
Mm-hmm.
or something when it
Yeah.
ended. And I mean, it was just had to take it because
Yeah, and I mean
that's the
that's like the
rules. So
reverse risk. Like if you win game one, you're fine, but if you lose, you gotta grind fast to even have a chance.
yeah, yeah. And so we had a kind of longer grindier game two, and it led to 5 minutes left in the round.
Yeah,
And
and you'd
I
already been
knew he,
playing for like 7 hours at that time too, and like
yeah.
yeah.
And then the last round, I'm so sorry I don't remember what his name was another Gogeta Zeno. Surprise,
Mm.
surprise.
Yeah.
And that one was uh, definitely super close game one and game two.
Mm-hmm.
I played I'm not an aggressive player in
Sure.
nature, so I just play
Oh, with
super
this deck, you
just
sure?
instinctive. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I know. Oh no, sometimes with just what was in my hand, it was just 7 energy, swing with unison, swing with
Mm-hmm.
leader, pass.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was like, "You're not going to play anything," and I was like, "No,
Wait till your
I
turn.
don't really, I don't really want to." I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I mean, there were definitely and I won game one, and then game two went to Tom, but there was like it was in my turn and I was swinging. I don't think there was a chance. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was that was the one where I had played the SCR, so I knew
Okay.
he'd only have a leader swing going into his next turn,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so I was finishing a swing when Tom was called, so it didn't even matter because it would
Yeah,
have went
yeah,
to
yeah.
his turn for one leader swing.
Mm-hmm. So, well, cool. Well, that seems like the right meta choice for what you faced. So, real quick to wrap it up, we'll talk about just your thoughts on your sideboard, what worked and what didn't work, and then lastly, any shoutouts and whatnot.
Okay, cool. For the deck, for the deck overall, I definitely would probably make some changes going
Mm-hmm.
forward. I kept the Jirens in there just because, like I said, I hate Android 17,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Maybe two is too many because they got sided out every game. But I was just because since you're playing a grindy game anyway, I was
Mm-hmm.
just so nervous of hitting that SS4
Yeah, and I mean it's
or
on
Aandroid
color,
matchup.
right? It's on
Yeah,
color, and chances are game one is the one you have to win anyways because you're not doing game two and three. So I think it's an understandable main deck for the
yeah.
situation you're in.
And then I actually might up the Demigra and the Majin Buu's Extinction Attack
Mm-hmm.
because you don't mill a ton in this deck,
Sure.
but there were times on my turn where I was like, man, I really need to get more cards into the drop, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to combo cards out of my hand. So
Sure.
playing
Sure.
the Extinction Attack on my leader swing, that's a 35k attack right there.
Yeah, and I mean
So
drop area recursion still exists in the game too. So there's things you want to get out of there
yeah,
from your opponent's side.
that's why they're main boarded. They were for the U7 matchup mainly.
Oh,
If they
okay.
milled the
Oh yeah,
SGL.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
a good snipe. Yeah. Oh man, did you ever? Oh, you never faced U7, I guess.
I didn't, but
Oh,
no, that
man,
that is literally why I added them in.
one energy, get rid of your God Rare $3,000 card, like for what, $7? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't go over matchup dependent on the deck. I think everything else is like the Realm of the Gods, Crimson Hero Strike. removal on your side or on your opponent's turn, it's just like a super combo. You just had to pay 1 for it, but you get a draw.
Yeah, and then fill your drop area too, which is nice.
Yeah, definitely like those cards. I wasn't huge on Ultimate minus Energy Powerball.
Mm-hmm.
The reason it is there is just because of Poutine. On the counterattack, just because if I did run into yellow, getting around Poutine is just super annoying.
Yeah.
So
I can see
that is why
sure.
that is mainboarded there. Side deck, I put in the Quetzalcoatl's against launch since they were playing like the coolers and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Didn't really. I think I put it again against AOD too.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Funny enough, most of the time they literally got milled in one of the hatch things. One of them did when you use his activate main. And then they ended up getting warped, and I never saw them again. So.
I get that, but I mean, I understand. Like again, they're on colored. You put stuff in your drop area anyways, so I understand why they're there.
Deborah was, of course, for the green matchup if you see it. I did side him in for AOD since he was playing the 13.
Oh yeah.
That makes you get started on a counterplay.
Yeah.
Ghost Warriors was if I. It just seemed bad not to run it if you happen to go against an aggro blue deck. But, like just because it was, I mean, it replaced itself. It was just a fun choice because how often do you see it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just to have your opponent say, "Wait, what does that do?" Excuse me.
The Devilish Dominator was really for like I guess more of a blue matchup where people were just countering. And so since I never really saw that, I didn't bother putting the other one. I don't think I ever cited the other one in. I actually cited my main one out a couple times.
Yeah, I could see that.
The Fu, the Dark Banisher in the side, I cited it in maybe a couple times, but again, it was. I wasn't really worried about my side just because I wasn't really ever going to game.
Yeah, exactly.
3
yeah, game 2 was
worry about it.
Not necessarily winning; is just not dying for like 30 minutes. So I get that.
Yeah. The Senshin Run Negative Energy Explosion, that was for a blue matchup just because it's got the barrier and deflect and can restand. Didn't play one, so I didn't bother siding it in.
Sure.
Mass and Brainwash No More. Most people were expecting like 2 in the main, and I was only running 1, and I'd probably rather have 2 in the main just because it did come up sometimes, and everybody was always. It was funny because since people were expecting me to play 2 in the main, they were always looking through my like drop and warp.
And so they saw one.
They saw 1 in there. They were like, "Oh, he's probably got the other one in his hand," especially because you do draw a lot with this deck.
Yeah, a lot of cycle.
So they're like, "Oh, I bet he's got it in his hand." I don't know, but I mean, I just had limitless negates anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, just the card existing is already fear enough, which I think is good enough for what it is.
The Finn, the SR Finn was for basically if people were playing a bunch of blockers, just I was making them choose, or if they really were actually building a board. Like AOD, like because he was playing a bunch of stuff, getting the effects, and then comboing them off. And so Finn was just you get to pick one thing, and everything else just is gone.
Yeah. And then you choose. So I mean, it doesn't get around barrier though, based on the rating, but, so like they'd be able to keep their Bobbity and something else, but yeah.
It was more for like because Trunks plays those like blockers from the warp, so he can play like because the guy was playing in game 2. He started playing like all 3 of them, and or 3. He was playing a ton of blockers just so I couldn't get any swings in. The max power, that was just an additional negate and additional removal if I needed it. You could play it on the side. I didn't want to take away any of my power burst or my petrifications because petrification I would hold on to 1 for the entire game just to hit
just in
whatever
case
that last
emergency button.
And then I never sided in the Meki Kiboras just because I was super tired from the day and I didn't want to have to remember
to unside.
They were more for Sin
Mm-hmm.
than anything else, just as additional protection. But I'm again, everybody was playing thwarting against me, so I could have sided in for thwarting, but it didn't. They were playing multiple turns anyway, so they would have saw it eventually.
Yeah, and I mean that's what I like. You know, again, black has just become such a toolbox deck now, and you know most generic like meta cards or like counter cards are black, so like all cards can use it. But in a deck that's already black and can just worst case charge the card, I think there's just so many cards you can choose. And yeah, being able to be meticulous with how many your ratios or what like one ofs you're running, I think that's like shows how the deck building process for Hatchhyack goes.
Oh yeah, and I mean, because there's a bunch of different choices in my list, and what is it?
Ivos.
How do you say it? Ivos.
Yes.
Ivos?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, he played a bunch of different stuff too.
He had a
like,
lot of one ofs. Like he knew his ratios down to one. Like two's too many, one's enough. Like
and I do like his build too, and I like because like I had the dual attack Super Saiyan God Trunks SR in there, but every time I was testing it, I didn't want to play it. I just wanted to charge it. So
yeah.
I just took it out, and I think it definitely works in the deck, especially for the two swings. I think I was just undervaluing the swings because I wasn't worried about swinging. I was worried about surviving. So I definitely think you could put stuff like that in there, and I do like the Ghost Warrior Slug for removal.
Oh yeah. I remember running that one. Here, I think I have his list right here. Let me bring it up just for contrast. If anything really. The slug, Oceanus, I think was interesting.
I think that especially for Sin would work too. I was on the boat about it, but I only had one readily available, and so I was like, I don't want to risk throwing it in there and just being like, hopefully I see it. And
yeah, I think the only card is probably like the SS3 Vegeta that pops a barrier dude and gets a card draw. I think that's the only one that I would say is like moderately impactful between the two of your lists. But again, it's really cool to see how similar your guys' lists are at the same time without any collaboration or anything before that too.
Oh yeah. I was, and I mean, we were talking about it too, and he was just because I actually think I was maybe playing a little too aggressive earlier. Yeah. And he came up after like round 6, and he was watching. He was like, he goes, I usually don't like playing cards until turn 3. He goes, I don't even play cards really until I have 3 or 4 energy. He was like, until I'm awakened. And he was like, I think he was like, you might be a little too aggressive. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, are you sure this list is aggressive? And he was well, he was like, it's pretty defensive. You're right. But
I've talked to Ivo a couple times. That's definitely how he talks. He's just like, this is how I do it, and do what you want, but this is the
And I definitely think a couple times in the day I was a little too aggressive, and it almost cost me. But I think going back, I'd play the deck just a little bit different because again, towards the end of games, it was uptick to draw off Bardock, swing with Hatch, play something to draw or to warp something, and then swing with it and pass turn. That was it. And I mean, I was leaving 6, 5, 7 sometimes energy open just because like their hands were slowly diminishing and they were running out of decks. Draws. And it was just easier for me to just stop drawing and kind of, I mean, this is a 57 card list. Generally I'm going to have more cards left than them at the end.
Sure.
And especially as much as they're drawing.
And milling themselves with U7 and with Gogeta, and, Vegix isn't a thing anymore, so definitely.
Yeah. Funny enough, my shout out to Shannon Del Harvey, who was playing a very similar list to this, but played against a bunch of yellow.
Rip.
With Hatch. His first round was against he said a Vegix, which of course he did not expect to see whatsoever. And they were playing. I think he said they were mainboarding 4 Tampas, so he was like not expecting that either, and he was just like, "Yeah, what am I supposed to do against that?"
So, well, cool. Well, I think that's all I have for you. Any shout outs or anything else before we end?
I do want to thank you for having me on here and for always doing your giveaways and streaming consistently.
I have your address almost memorized now. So if I don't be surprised if I show up on your doorstep if needed.
Yeah.
So
I've won a lot from this, man. If you're not subscribed, it's super easy. Just especially if you have Prime, just subscribe. Subscribe to the Eggman.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. And actually, his last stream, I won something. I forgot to PM it.
Yes, that is also why I'm reaching out to you. Your deck is fine, but actually, I need to send you these packs. So if you don't mind, no, we'll take care of that. So.
And then just shout out again to Shannon Del Harvey, who came to my house, drove me down to Nashville, and just keeping me in the game, keeping me. A bunch of times I thought about, maybe it's not worth it not having a play group and stuff around me, but with Untap and my old play group in Louisville, what's left of it and everything, it's kept me going, and for the first time ever I got an invite. So
yeah, well,
I'm stoked.
Yeah, for sure. You should be 100%, and definitely congratulations. I hope to see you at Nationals this year, whenever that is. And I'm really excited for you. So but that's going to be it for this video. I really appreciate you guys watching, and Cody for reaching out and everything else. So that's going to be it for us. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.